Jersey's own Zach Gelb. Or maybe it's Pennsylvania. Anyhow, it's one of the two, I'm pretty sure. The Zach Gelb Show continues on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in, Zach Gelb Show. Time in the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios is 5:15. When I think of football in Philadelphia, many names come to mind, and one of them is Mr. Invincible himself, and that's Vince Papale, who joins us on the hotline right now to talk a little Eagles training camp. Vince, great to talk to you again, my friend, and how are you?
Yeah, hey, Zach, great to be back on the show with you again. Thanks a lot. How's your summer been?
My summer's been going great, and I was at Eagles training camp yesterday, which is always fun, and we're getting ready for the Eagles season and also the Jets and the Giants living here in New Jersey. But your story, we all know, is a peculiar one. When you hear the words training camp, what are some memories that come back to mind?
Peculiar. I've heard it described many ways, but not peculiar. I like that one. Thanks, Zach.
No problem.
Training camp, what do I think about? I have nightmares. You kidding me? Actually, training camp was my proving ground. All I wanted to do was to go out and see if I could compete with the best out there, you know, the guys in the NFL. And Coach Dick Vermeil in '76 gave me that opportunity, you should know, Zach, and, you know, they made the movie about it. But I was looking at that training camp, and it's just like I just had a laugh. I was with Harold Carmichael actually Sunday. We were there for the open day that they had with all the fans, and Harold and I had done we did a seminar with a couple hundred people before, and it was called Long Shots, you know, because Harold coming in as a 7th round draft pick and me coming in, of course, as no draft pick, and we were talking about training camp and Dick Vermeil's camp, and how difficult it was, and how guys were bitching and moaning and just literally walking off the field and cutting themselves because they couldn't deal with the intensity of the camp. We weren't controlled so much back then. I don't even know if he was controlled by the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, and so, you know, pretty much what he wanted to throw out there, he being Coach Vermeil, went, and his practices were 2.5, 3 hours in full pads, constant contact. They called it thud tempo, and thud tempo is you're supposed to just be hitting in the upper body only, but it eventually became full contact. And we would go that way both in the morning and in the afternoon, and they were full sessions. Now with the way camp is, and you know, we're talking 2.5 weeks.
A lot's changed.
Yeah, we're talking 2.5 weeks of training camp. They had a day off today. We didn't get our first day off until 13 days into training camp.
You would still be playing if they did it this way now.
I don't know. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. You know, the athletes are a little bit more. You know how it is. So
yep.
A lot of it with the injuries, but hey, I don't begrudge him for anything. I'm very excited about the season and real excited about my friend. Doug Peterson. Doug and I go back to when he was a player here in Philly in '99, and my wife actually is his realtor for the Peterson family, and they're very close friends. And I'm so excited for him and also for the Eagles. This is going to be a fun year.
Before we hear a little bit more about your optimism and some words about Coach Doug Peterson, I want to take you back to last year because a lot of players are still voicing their animosity for Chip Kelly through the media. As a former player and someone that's still very close to the Eagles organization, what was your relationship like with Chip Kelly?
It was a great relationship. Chip treated me with tremendous respect. I always tell the story that when he first came to Philadelphia, and my son Vinny, who's now at University of Delaware playing football, but at that time he was with Bishop Eustace, and we thought he had a stress fracture. And I was supposed to actually go to the press conference when Chip Kelly was being introduced, but Vinny was getting an MRI the same day that it was going, and I said, well, there's no way. He's more important than the press conference. So I went to the MRI, and after we got done doing it, I turned on the radio, and I said, oh, Vinny, I said, you know, it's a press conference. Let's see what Chip has to say. And then right at that point, somebody asked Chip if they was going to have a free agent tryout. He said, I would if I could get a guy like Vince Papale. And I looked over at Vinny, and it turned out he didn't have a stress fracture. I looked over at Vinny, and we both started laughing. I said, man, we are in Lake Flint. This is great. And then, ironically, that night I had something. I was doing a charity event down at Chickies and Pete's, and who comes popping in, with his entourage. And,
wow.
And it was Coach Kelly, and I got to meet him. And every time I saw Chip, it was always, hey, Vinny, how you doing, and treated me and my family with tremendous respect. anytime I came, even if I'm with my daughter, my son, my friends, he always allowed us to be right up on the sidelines with the players, which is a no-no with previous coaches. And it was pretty cool. I always felt as if I was part of what was going on. And unbeknownst to me, I wasn't so close to the organization, not knowing all the things that were churning, that looked like the duck on the top of the water, but all the stuff that was churning under the water in the locker room, and it's sort of, it sort of disheartens me. I think some guys, they just keep their mouths shut. It is what it was last year, and a lot of the players, in spite of all the things that went on and people were saying negative about Chip Kelly, if players executed and did the job and made the tackle, didn't make the mental error, made the catch, did what they were supposed to do, they would have been in the playoffs. They were only a couple, 3 plays away from the playoffs, and I think the best thing for some of the players to do is just keep your mouth shut. Someday you might not, hey, you might wind up becoming your boss again. It's such as, the way that things are in the NFL. But, it's sad to see, but it's all new now, with Doug, a whole great new approach. You got a player's coach. The guys feel like they can relate to him and talk to him, and let's hope that translates into wins.
And that's what I always hear. And I was at Eagles camp yesterday, and you get that vibe that the players, they think Doug is a player coach, and they enjoy him. And we'll see how that goes on through the wins and losses of an Eagles season. But the big key with Doug is it's okay to be a player's coach, but you can't be a doormat. You can't have your players be walking all over the doormat. Why will Doug Peterson not allow that to happen, since you know him so well?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you brought that one up, Zach, and I'll tell you why. Because I was talking with Doug. He came over actually the night the Villanova won the national championship, and he had a team meeting, with the guys that came in, and I said, how'd it go? And he said, great. He says, I told him what my expectations were, and he had this one quote which I thought was great. He said, it doesn't take talent to hustle. And he said, you guys are going to have to hustle. You're going to have to pick up the pace. This isn't going to be the same training camp you had last year. You're going to be banging. You're going to be hitting, and you're going to be held accountable. It's going to be a whole different way things are going to be here. He's really into the fundamentals. He's very comfortable with Jim Schwartz, former head coach, being the head of his defense. He doesn't feel like there's going to be any issues there, and actually, he welcomes the opportunity for a guy like for Jim to come in and perhaps do a little critique every once in a while of some of the things that they're doing offensively. And he's just got a tremendous offensive coordinator in Frank, coming in from San Diego and his experience as a quarterback. So that he's not going to allow things to fester in the locker room. He's been in the locker room for years. He's been around the situation at Green Bay. He's played under great coaches, and I think he and Howie have assembled a pretty good coaching staff. So I'm pretty excited about it, and we'll see how the big guy, the quarterback fares, in that situation. Everybody's they're criticizing Doug already for giving Bradford a free pass, but what else is he going to do? Where else was the guy? Where's he going to turn? He's not going to bring in the backup from Kansas City to start this year, and he certainly isn't going to have the rookie come in and start. So you got to give Bradford his due, and Sam did a great job at the end of the season. He held true, made some great throws, and give the guy an opportunity where he feels wanted, and a new scheme where he can sort of settle into things. So it'll be fun to watch.
We're talking to Vince Papale. Mr. Invincible joins us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. And you're exactly right. Sam Bradford is going to be the starter this year. And I don't think the Eagles are going to be that good this year. I think they're a work in progress, and you'll start to see this team turn it around next year. But that big question is, and fans, every time Sam Bradford throws an interception this year, they're going to be imploring for the Eagles to implement Carson Wentz on the field. I've been on record saying that I want to see Carson Wentz play the last quarter of the season, but the whole thing to this entire plan, and we could talk about until we're blue in the face about what Doug Peterson will be as a head coach, what Howie Roseman will be back in the general manager's seat. The whole thing is predicated off the success of the arm of Carson Wentz. And you may not see a whole lot of him this year, but in the future years, he is the guy that needs to be the franchise quarterback. Do you think he will be that franchise quarterback?
From what I see, and you were at camp yesterday, I don't know what you saw yesterday. From what I see, and I was at several practices that they that they had when they were having the not the voluntary camps, when they had to come in, and I was pretty impressed with him. I saw him make some very good throws, but at this particular stage of the game, Bradford's got his most accurate on the team, and it's going to take a while for Carson to get acclimated to all the stuff, and they keep talking about the speed of the game and him being at a lower division of football, so he's going to have to catch up to that. But here's the dilemma, what happens if they win some games? It's not the strongest of divisions, and what happens if Bradford lights it up? And if this guy's throwing and he's got a rating of 99, 100% out there, how can you bench him? Because and then don't forget that Doug came from the Green Bay family, and he sat there behind Brett Favre, but so did Aaron Rodgers, and there's Aaron Rodgers just revving to get in there, but Brett just kept producing, and he stayed in there. So it's going to be on Carson Wentz, but right now I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that he's going to sit there and wait. He's going to be like an intern, but he's going to get his opportunities. He'll get his chances, and we'll see how it goes.
The major concern, though, that I have with Bradford is his health. But let's say if he is able to stay healthy, which is something he hasn't been able to do in his career, I just don't think, Vince, that the wide receivers and running backs are that good. What did you see out of the wide receivers and running backs when you were out watching this team in camp?
Well, I see a lot of speed. I see a lot of potential. I see some great talent, and he's brought a couple of veterans in, from New York and in Baltimore, and he's going to see what he's got to do. I was talking to a press guy the other day, and he said he didn't see a great deal of skill at those positions. But hey, you know what? I'm a prime example of people saying that you don't have what it takes to get it done out there in the field, and I'm just going to let the results take care of it. I'm not a scout. I'm not an analyst. I'm a fan, and right now I see a lot of potential, and I see some tremendous talent, and wish I'd had some of the talent that these guys had, and I know I wound up playing in the NFL for 4 years. So it's going to be a developmental season, as like you said. The fans, are they going to be patient? And we're just going to see how they handle it, and see how Doug handles it. I think he'll do a pretty good job of it, though.
Wrapping up with Vince Papale, and you know this better than anyone, special teams is such a vital part to the game, and I don't like the way the NFL has been making some of these changes to the special teams over the last few years. This year you see the touchback is moving from 20 to 25, and there's all these talks about getting rid of the kickoff, and you look at some of the stories, the success stories in the National Football League over the last few decades. A lot of times it's someone that's an undrafted free agent or a late-round draft pick that really makes the team and gets their start on special teams, and then eventually it elevates to something else. I just think it's so absurd that they're trying to get rid of the kickoff, Vince. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. That was my forte, to come down, go downfield.
That's
I was
right.
a gunner, but I was talking to Coach Phipp the other day on the sideline Sunday, and we were talking about special teams, and you look at it, and then that's one of the things we were talking about some of these guys that are coming in. They want to make a mark, make an impact on the team. And two guys that came to mind when I was talking to him was Chris Maragos and Brian Bremen, and they're just two wild men on special teams. And for them to take that away, I don't know, man. I mean, how much more are they going to take away from the game?
They ruin it.
I understand the concussion thing and the concern for injuries, but the players, they don't worry about it. It seems like everybody else is worrying about something that they don't worry about. I don't know if you talk to 9 out of 10 players, you get out there, if they're even thinking about stuff like that, they're going to go out and give it 1,000,000%. Even though fear of injury is one of the biggest concerns out there, it's not something that they concern themselves with. And moving it to the 25-yard line, I mean, come on, man, they're doing everything they now to make the game. I think to make the game more offensive, to get more scoring into the game. Let the wide receivers battle to get downfield. Look, I didn't make too many friends of defensive backs, but I think what they're doing, they're crippling defensive backs by not allowing those guys to make contact after 5 yards downfield.
What was that feeling like for you playing in the National Football League, and really just the way that Philadelphia fans loved you when you were playing and then have still embraced you after your career? Can you describe that feeling for us?
Oh, it's just phenomenal to walk into an event, to walk into the stadium. We're going to have Alumni Day out there, the Buccaneers game on August 11th.
Nice.
And I already know, the reception and the way people treat me here, or anywhere else, not even just in Philadelphia, but around the country. Because of Invincibles just made such a tremendous impact. And I'm just so grateful. Zach, listen, I had nothing to prove when I was trying to do what I did out there. I pretty much put the helmet and the shoulder pads on for all the fans out there and for everybody that was told that it couldn't be done because you don't have the right resume or the right pedigree. I just went out in there and banged it. And thank God for Dick Vermeil to give me that chance. And my God, here we are, 10 years celebrating Invincible. I just got contacted by the Eagles. They're going to do a feature on the fact that it was 40 years. I can't believe it was 40 years ago that I made the team, and 10 years now that the movie's been out, and it seems like it was just yesterday. I remember being in training camp. I remember plays. I remember things that happened just like it was yesterday. So it was really, really cool.
I know you have to run, but before we let you run, tell me what you're doing tonight in Cherry Hill with the Cops.
Well, I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and they're having a big national sporting event, and the Cherry Hill Police Department asked me to come out and you talk about some people that go out there every day and risk their lives, and right now are just much maligned, and I just want to go out and give them my support and say thank you to the Cherry Hill Police Department and anybody that serves our country and helps protect the American dream. So I'm going to go out and hang out with a bunch of kids and parents. I'm real excited. My family's all together tonight afterwards. My son just come back from his little vacation, and he's heading off to University of Delaware for football camp. And the depth chart just came in, and he's going to be running number 1 at Z. So
nice.
Pretty excited about the upcoming three actually. I'm still coaching at Bishop Eustace. I'll be watching Vinny, of course, at Delaware, and then still bleeding green with the Eagles. So it's a perfect trifecta. You can't beat it.
Vince, you're a legend in this town. Thanks so much for coming on with us today, and you do great work when you were on the field with the Eagles, and now clearly off the field. You're doing some great work. Have fun at the event tonight.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Zach. Take care, buddy.
You too. There is Vince Papale joining us on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. I just love talking to that man, and the first time I met him was actually at the Super Bowl. Him and Vermeil were doing a bunch of appearances on Radio Row, and it was before the Patriot-Giants Super Bowl, and he was staying at the same hotel as myself, and he invited us up into